In 363 AD, the most powerful man in the world decided to destroy Christianity. He wanted to publicly prove that Jesus Christ was a liar. His plan was simple: to invalidate the one visible prophecy Jesus had left behind. If the emperor had succeeded, the Christian faith would have collapsed in on itself. But what happened, documented not by the Bible, but by a pagan Roman military officer hostile to the church, is one of the most shocking historical mysteries of all time. Flames exploded from the ground, melting stone and terrifying the Roman Empire. This is a true story. It is the story of the emperor who challenged God and of the day the earth itself opened up to defend the words of Christ. To understand the magnitude of what happened, we must take a step back to the day when Jesus walked through the streets of Jerusalem. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, the disciples came to Jesus to show him the magnificent buildings of the Temple of Jerusalem. It was the beating heart of the Jewish faith, an architectural wonder covered in gold and white marble. But Jesus' answer froze his followers. He said these exact words: "Do you see all these things? Truly, I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." This was not simply a pessimistic prediction. It was a powerful theological declaration. With the death and resurrection of Christ, the Old Covenant was being brought to fulfillment. The sacrifice of animals in the temple would no longer be necessary, because Jesus himself had become the final lamb. In the year 70 AD, the prophecy was fulfilled with astonishing precision. The Roman legions of Titus razed Jerusalem to the ground. They set the temple on fire, and in order to recover the melted gold that had flowed into the cracks between the building stones, the Roman soldiers dismantled the structure literally stone by stone, exactly as Christ had said. For 300 years, the temple remained in ruins. Those charred ruins stood as physical and undeniable proof, visible to everyone, that Jesus was the true Messiah and that his words could not be altered. And this is where Flavius Claudius Julian enters the scene. He would go down in history under the fearsome name of Julian the Apostate. Julian was not an ignorant pagan. He was the nephew of Constantine the Great, the emperor who had legalized Christianity. Julian had been raised as a Christian, educated by the finest bishops, and he knew the Holy Scriptures by heart. But in the secrecy of his heart, he despised the faith. When he became the sole ruler of the Roman Empire in 361, he revealed his true intentions. He renounced his baptism, restored the worship of the ancient pagan gods, and set as the purpose of his life the goal of wiping the Catholic Church from the face of the earth. But Julian was a strategic genius. He had studied history. He knew perfectly well that persecuting Christians by killing them did not work. The blood of the martyrs had been the seed of the church. Killing them only made them stronger. He had to destroy the credibility of the founder of their faith. He had to prove that Jesus of Nazareth, whom he contemptuously called the Galilean, was a false prophet. Julian's mind produced a brilliant plan. If Jesus had prophesied that the Temple of Jerusalem would not be rebuilt, the emperor would rebuild it. If he succeeded in raising a new temple and restarting the animal sacrifices, the entire Christian theology would collapse. Christians would appear before the world as followers of a fraud whose prophecies could be disproved by the engineering power of Rome. Julian wasted no time. He issued imperial edicts inviting the Jews of the diaspora to return to Jerusalem. He guaranteed them full protection and, above all, opened the imperial treasury. There were no spending limits. He appointed his most trusted man to lead the project, Alypius of Antioch, a former governor of Britain, a ruthless and methodical civil engineer. Historical accounts of the time describe an unprecedented mobilization. Men and women arrived from every corner of the empire to take part in the undertaking. It is said that even some women donated their jewelry to finance the work, and that silver shovels and pickaxes were forged to dig the foundations of the new sanctuary. The construction site opened. The church watched, holding its breath. Saint Cyril, who was then Bishop of Jerusalem, looked at the excavations and reminded the frightened faithful not to be afraid, because the words of the Lord would not pass away. It is the spring of the year 363. Roman and Jewish workers begin clearing away the rubble left by Titus 3 centuries earlier. Enormous quantities of earth and debris are removed in order to reach the living rock and lay the new foundations. The empire is ready to celebrate the defeat of Christianity. But then, the inexplicable happens. We now come to the crucial document. We are not reading a Christian text. We are reading the Res Gestae, the official history of Rome written by Ammianus Marcellinus. Ammianus was a high-ranking military man, a comrade in arms of Emperor Julian, and one of his great admirers. Ammianus had no respect for Christianity, and yet in Book 23, Chapter 1, Paragraph 3, he was forced to write these exact words for the historical record. Listen carefully. While Alypius, assisted by the governor of the province, was pushing the work forward with great vigor, terrifying globes of fire repeatedly burst forth near the foundations. The assaults of fire made the place inaccessible to the workers, some of whom were burned to death. And because the element drove them back with relentless persistence, the undertaking was abandoned. Globes of fire. Uncontrollable eruptions rising from the depths of the earth. Ammianus uses the Latin expression globi flammarum. Every time Alypius workers tried to approach the foundations with stone and mortar, the ground exploded. This was not an isolated event. The historical text is clear. The flames erupted repeatedly, physically defending the area, making it literally impossible to place one stone upon another. The flames did not merely frighten the men. The sources report that some workers who were inside the excavations lost their lives, burned alive by an abnormal and sudden heat. Think of the shock. The Roman army, which had subdued the known world, which had built gigantic aqueducts, the Colosseum and the Pantheon, was being driven back by flames bursting from nowhere, exactly at the place where Jesus had pronounced his final sentence. Alypius of Antioch, one of the most pragmatic and capable men in the empire, was forced to surrender. He ordered the workers to withdraw. The construction site was abandoned in terror. But the testimony of Ammianus Marcellinus is only the tip of the iceberg. The event was so public and catastrophic that it was recorded by dozens of different historical sources, both friendly and hostile to Christianity. St. John Chrysostom, one of the greatest fathers of the Church, wrote a few years after the event that the burned foundations were still there, visible to anyone who wanted to travel to Jerusalem and see them for themselves. St. Gregory Nazianzen, in a document written in the very same year as the event, adds terrifying details that were circulating throughout the empire. He speaks of a violent underground earthquake that preceded the globes of fire, hurling the remaining stones from the site like projectiles. But he also speaks of an inexplicable heavenly phenomenon. During the eruption, a luminous cross appeared in the sky above Jerusalem, and mysterious cross-shaped marks appeared on the cloaks and garments of the fleeing workers. Black marks imprinted into the fabric that could not be washed away in any way. It was the signature of God upon what was happening. The rabbinic Jewish sources of that period speak more indirectly of the failure of the reconstruction attempt because of a fire of divine origin, tacitly confirming the pagan and Christian accounts. Today, modern historians and scientists cannot deny that this event happened. The documentary sources are too numerous, too consistent, and come from historians too authoritative to be dismissed as inventions. So, how does modern science explain it? The most widely accepted academic hypothesis suggests that the underground spaces beneath the Temple Mount, abandoned for 300 years, had filled with flammable gases released by the decomposition of organic material or by geological natural gas seepage. When Alypius's workers dug into those sealed spaces, carrying lit torches into chambers closed for centuries, they triggered a violent explosion. The heat generated a chain reaction with the gas pockets below, explaining the repeated explosions described by Ammianus Marcellinus as globes of fire. But here is the fundamental point for us as believers, a point that helps us understand how the Lord acts. God is the creator of the universe and of the laws of physics. He often uses nature to accomplish his will. The real question is not whether there was gas or a geological earthquake. The real question, the true essence of the miracle, is timing. What is the statistical probability that a deadly geological anomaly would be unleashed on the exact day when the pagan emperor was trying to falsify the prophecy of Christ? What is the probability that those explosions would stop at the exact moment the work was interrupted? This is not a coincidence. It is divine providence. It is God saying to human arrogance, "This far you may come and no farther." The news of the failure in Jerusalem reached Emperor Julian while he was in Persia, engaged in a military campaign. It was a devastating blow to his ego and to his anti-Christian project. The man who wanted to prove that Jesus was a liar had been humiliated by flames bursting from the earth. But the fate of Julian the Apostate was already sealed. A few days later, on June 26, 363, during a confused skirmish in the Persian desert, an enemy spear struck him in the side, piercing his liver. Christian tradition preserves his final dramatic words. Feeling himself dying, Julian took a handful of blood flowing from his wound, threw it toward the sky, and cried out one last phrase, "Vicisti Galilei." You have conquered, Galilean. The pagan emperor died at only 32 years old. With him, the Roman Empire's attempt to restore paganism and destroy the church ended forever. From that day forward, Rome was irreversibly Christian. This true story, buried in the archives of Roman historiography, is not merely a curiosity from the past. It is a powerful message for each one of us today. We live in an age in which the Christian faith is mocked, attacked by the media, and challenged by those who believe that science or modernity can erase the words of God. But we must not forget that even the most powerful empire on earth, armed with infinite wealth and the sharpest human intellect, was unable to add even a single stone where Christ had said there would be none. As Jesus said in the Gospel of Mark, "Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away." No crisis, no emperor, no persecution, and no ideology will ever be able to tear down the truth founded on Jesus Christ. If this story has strengthened your faith, I ask you to join us in a collective prayer by writing these exact words in the comments. Lord, your words will never pass away. Increase my faith. May God bless us all.